Welcome to another weekly Forex forecast. We had an interesting week last week with the BOJ rate hike for the Japanese yen, and yet still the yen continued to sell off. We did get the comments from Trump for the lower oil prices and basically demanding the Fed to cut rates for the US dollar to boost economy. And we will see next week if his wish will come true. We do have the FOMC meeting on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on where you are in the world, and then the ECB meeting on Thursday. So these are the two main events next to a whole bunch of other high impact news next week. So we have to be careful, and it's basically a make or break week next week for the dollar. We start on the DXY on the weekly time frame, and we see we have a very strong weekly sell-off in the dollar. If we have a look on the lower time frames here on the daily, we can see that the very strong Friday sell-off after these comments from Trump and basically the dollar index finished the week outside of the structure we were identifying for quite some time. So this gives us technically kind of a shift in momentum, and we were identifying this level here. Let me clean that up here, this level here for quite some time, and we're expecting for price to tap one more time into this level, then to grab volume for the next leg up. However, while closing outside this area and the overall sentiment switching a bit more towards risk on for the coming weeks, I would not be surprised if we see a further sell-off in the US dollar and an overall strengthening in euro and some of the commodity currencies into the next few weeks. So that's something we have to keep an eye on. And for me, next week, I'm slightly more biased to a continuation in dollar weakness, at least temporary. And as long as we are sitting on top of this low and forming some form of a bear flag continuation, I'm leaning more towards US dollar shorts. However, I would change my bias immediately if we see a strong impulsive break back into the overall structure early next week and then see some form of bullish continuation. Then of course our previous bias would be back in play. So moving on to euro US dollar on the weekly time frame, we can see here the inverse picture, and we broke above these levels we were initially identifying for a reversal. And it's basically just the other way around. So US dollar short, so euro US dollar leaning more towards the long, and we can see we have some levels which are interesting here, and we are trading outside this overall structure at the moment. So as long as we are trading above this level here and forming some form of a bull flag continuation, I'm happy to enter a long continuation here. On the other hand, flip side again, if we break down impulsively back into this overall area and followed by a lower time frame bear flag continuation, I will change my bias and take a short. Australian dollar, US dollar. On the weekly time frame, we are coming from a value area here. We had this value area identified, and we said initially we were looking for the last leg down. But yeah, now with the overall risk on sentiment creeping into the market, it could actually continue a bit further up before we see a potential turnaround. And therefore, on the 4-hour time frame as well, we are outside this overall structure here, and we are basically, it failed, right? We had here this liquidity area here to the left. We tapped into it, and initially it looked like we get a turnaround, but the turnaround failed. So the sell-off could not continue. Instead, price starting to accumulate more volume in this area here. And as long as we are within here on the 1-hour time frame, as long as we are within this level, above this level, I'm definitely looking for long continuation. Again, here, same play like before. If the DXY suddenly turns around and we get a strong impulsive sell-off back into structure followed by continuation, then we take the sign of the market and change the bias. But overall, into next week, looking for long plays. The same goes for New Zealand dollar, US dollar. On the weekly, the main difference here is we are not coming directly from a value area. We still here have a gap towards this area. So, and we are still trading below here. So it's not as clear as Australian dollar, US dollar. However, on the lower time frame, it looks quite similar. We are trading outside this overall structure here and starting to form some form of smaller consolidation. And we have here a small liquidity point. We have a small gap. So if price is coming back one more time and giving me a reversal pattern in this area, I'm happy to take a long here. Euro pound, something we have on watch for quite some time. We were discussing this volume accumulation here before with this strong reversal candles here, and then price finally breaking out, trading outside this overall structure. And then we were looking for a long continuation for the last 2 weeks already. And now here on the 4-hour time frame, we almost got something here. We had a temporary structure here, which then rejected and went back down one more time into this level we were discussing last week already. That's the area we were looking for a turnaround and the long continuation, and we are actually right now on top of it. So preferably we get on the lower time frame. We can see there is already, like, price is slowing down here a bit, but that's definitely not enough to enter a trade. So I need more confirmation. So preferably early next week during Asia session, a rejection of this level, or maybe tap a little bit further down one more time and then break back in, followed by a bull flag continuation to then enter along. Pound New Zealand dollar on the weekly time frame. We were looking already for a short continuation last week, and we got some break here and some form of consolidation last week, and are still in an area where a short would make sense. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, we identified this area here. We identified this area last week already, and we had this a bit choppy price action here, and then now we are starting to form a structure. So we actually got a 1, 2, 3 into this area here, but we are sitting below this liquidity point here to the left. So preferably we see one more move into this area and then a reversal, followed by a bear flag continuation on the lower time frame to then enter a short in this area. However, price actually already did enough here and could sell off from this area already. So if we see a sell off going down here to the 1-hour time frame, so if you see a sell off early next week and then getting a lower time frame bear flag continuation in this area, then I'm also happy to enter a short in this area, because overall price did already enough and has the potential to continue the sell from this level here, but preferably tapping one more time into this liquidity point. Euro yen. So on the yen pairs, I have to change my bias a bit. I don't really want to short the yen, but with an overall more risk on bias in the markets, and we cannot deny the technical implications here on the daily for the euro yen. We can see we had this impulsive first leg, we have here a continuation, and we are now in the next leg, and it would still make sense for price to tap somewhere into this area here before we then see a potential turnaround. So right now with this price action, I have to agree, it does look more like a continuation long play. Going down to the 1-hour time frame, we can see we had this overall 1, 2, 3 into this area of interest here, and then the start of the next impulsive move to the upside. We had here a continuation play, and now we are looking for a smaller bull flag continuation. Going down to the 15 minutes, we can see we have here a very, very small liquidity area here. We left a small gap, so if we get one more time up to form a proper second top and then coming back for a third base. That would be an ideal place for a long continuation into the next high. Australian dollar yen, on the other hand, is also like on the weekly time frame. We can see there is some momentum coming in. Overall, the structure does not look as good as euro yen. On the 4-hour time frame, we can see it would make sense. We have this structure here, potential 1, 2, 3 area, and it would make sense for price to finish the last leg. The price action here does not look as clean. We were initially looking on this level for shorts. It looked like, but then failed to connect, instead of went higher up. And now we have some areas here of interest to the left. But yeah, I mean, which one is here really relevant is hard to say. This one was clear because we had a very strong impulsive move from this area here, and they are much smaller, so not as relevant, but still could be turnaround points. So I'm looking more for this level here. So I'm not really interested to trade this last leg long. So I'm more looking forward to see what price is doing when it reaches these areas here. Taking out this previous high, then would make sense to have a 1, 2, 3 overall higher time frame bearish continuation, and then going into the next leg to the downside. Australian dollar Canadian, on the weekly time frame, we see we got some bullish momentum here, and we are actually coming from an area of interest here, and definitely looking in a change of momentum. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, we have this expanding structure here, 1, 2, 3 into this small liquidity area here to the left. And we do know that expanding structures can be both. They can be continuation or can be a reversal structure. And we see that initially it looked more like a reversal structure. We had this initial very nice reversal pattern here on the 4-hour, but then failed to connect, instead of just came back up one more time. And I'm looking now on the 1-hour time frame for a bullish continuation. We have here a small liquidity area, the start of this structure here, and we left a small gap, and I'm looking now for price to come back one more time and forming some form of reversal pattern on the 1-hour or 4-hour time frame to enter a long continuation in Australian dollar Canadian. Australian dollar Swiss francs, on the weekly as well, we are in a momentum play to the upside on the 4-hour time frame. We were identifying this level here before already and looking how price reacts while approaching this area. We see here we tapped into this area, but then again here failed to connect to the downside, came back one more time, failed again, and are now starting to form a continuation pattern outside. So I'm looking here on the 1-hour time frame, preferably 1 or 4-hour time frame, for a long continuation. And we have a small liquidity area here. So if we get a 1, 2, 3 into this area, then I'm happy for a long continuation. On the other hand, if we get the same and price is just stalling in this area, that would also be a fair level, and use this as the first base. And if we get something like that here, that would be enough. So if price remains in a tight consolidation during Asia session into London on Monday, then I would be happy to enter a long continuation. And Euro Swiss francs, very similar on the weekly time frame. We are in a momentum run to the upside, and we are also here more in an area where it would make sense for a long continuation. We are on top of this area, and the next one would be here or here, so enough room for a long. And I'm looking now here on the 1-hour time frame for price to form a bullish continuation pattern. We have this liquidity area here, and the 1, 2, 3 into this liquidity area would provide a very nice long opportunity. And now I had last week pound US dollar on watch. I will not go into too much detail, just shortly show you where I had a trade last week. So we were looking initially for a short continuation here in this area, and actually we did get a nice 1, 2, 3 on the 4-hour time frame into this liquidity area here, a nice rejection. So I had a limit order set here, get filled, and then initially price dropped into in my favor, and then price reached already 1.3 reward risk ratio. I decided to leave my stop loss where it is and went to bed a bit early. So you can see, like for me, it was like between 9 and 10 o'clock in the night. So I missed moving my stop loss to break even, and then took actually a loss here. This is definitely an unnecessary loss I took here last week, but yeah, shit happens. I thought I have enough room, and I did not expect for price to turn completely around. But yeah, definitely I should have moved my stop loss to break even after reaching 1.3 risk reward already. Missed that, but it still shows that these patterns are very, very strong. So even if the overall idea did clearly not play out, since it was a weighted pattern, a 4-hour pattern, it still gave technically enough room with this one very strong rejection candle, and then this 1, 2, 3, 4, like almost 16 hours to manage a trade and get out with the break even or a small win. So even though the overall idea was wrong, the pattern is technically so strong that it allows a trade to even manage and get out fast enough if you don't sleep during the reversal hours. Yeah, so that's it for next week. Thanks for watching, and see you next week. Bye bye.